Welcome to the GSUTV Podcast, where Georgia State's brightest voices, students, faculty, and VIPs come together to share their stories. Ready to hear some powerful messages? Let's dive in. Welcome to this new episode of the GSUTV Podcast. I'm Octavia, Nasr. Today we have two special guests, more students from the Journalism Practicum of the fall of 2023. We have Maceo and Duncan Rolinson, and I cannot be happier to welcome both of you to our podcast.
Thanks, it's good to be here.
Yeah, most definitely. I appreciate it.
And I appreciate you. Let's dive in and talk about you first.
I'm just a kid from Atlanta that trying to chase a dream, honestly.
What's the dream?
I want to do or be a sports journalist. Hopefully one day I can get to like an ESPN or something of that nature. But I'm a kid that started with football. Like most kids, you know what I'm saying? Football didn't take its turn and go where you wanted to go. So instead of giving up on just the aspect in general, I found a different route. So
I would say you're very close to your dream, at least, education-wise. And I know with the practicum that you're a few steps closer to being the sports journalist that you want to be. Would you agree with that?
most definitely. I can definitely say that.
I don't think we would have said that on day one of the practicum.
I don't think I would have said that.
It would have been.
In general.
If you think about it too, the fact that you get up at 4 a.m. for a job that's probably a lot less exciting than working for ESPN, that's, that drive is going to propel you a long way.
Most definitely. I mean, coming from that football background, it's the mindset that you kind of get installed with football and things of that nature of them pushing you to be better and things of that nature. Understanding that it's things that come with, whether it's school, work, whether it's football, that you got to deal with those things to get to where you want to be. So it all combines.
Duncan, tell us about Duncan.
I've lived in Atlanta my entire life, but I've been lucky that my grandfather owned a farm in East Georgia, so I'm kind of like a weekend redneck. I like to, go ride four-wheelers and, do sort of farm work when it calls for it and, hunt and that sort of thing. But, I think the biggest thing I've realized through this class is that coming into it, I really thought, sports journalism is what I want to do. But I've come to realize that I value connections with people a lot more. And so doing features and other stuff that's a little more human focused, that's really caught my interest through this class and another class I've had this semester. So that's really what I'm pushing towards. I'd really like to be able to sort of cover people and connect with people in my journalism career.
So tell me, before we get to the practicum, tell me your story with GSU.
So I guess starting at GSU, truthfully, I came here because I didn't really want to do college, but I knew it was important, and it was where I lived, and I enjoy living in Atlanta. So I didn't really go into it with enthusiasm. In my first few years, I definitely was not a good student. I didn't really care about school. I took a couple of gap semesters, and I worked in restaurants and retail and sort of jobs where, at times you can be kind of dehumanized by customers. And, I finally decided to come back and finish fall of 2022. And I had some classes where the professors they did such a good job of making the class about us, and they did such a good job of making the class interesting, just having professors who care. And I really came to like school and the work of it. And then it was expanded in the spring semester. I had a couple really good classes. One was Bill Chapman's editing class, and one was Terrence Moore's editorial class. And I learned a lot from those classes, and I learned skills that I really value. And so at this point, even with smack dab in the middle of finals and I'm stressed out and everything, I'm still appreciative that I have this opportunity to be here, to do this work, and to grow in the ways that I have.
I'm going to use this opportunity because you mentioned Bill Chapman, who is also the producer of this podcast and a professor of practice. Hello, Bill. and a professor of practice at GSUTV, and my colleague, and together we've been doing a lot of things because both of us are so focused on students. We find that it's easy to work together. But thank you for bringing that up. And Bill teaches the digital editing class, and any other classes, Bill? Graphic design.
Applied graphic communication, yeah. I'm taking that one this semester too.
Awesome, very good. So we will be we're working on offering more classes. We want people to stay tuned to this, but thank you for bringing that up, and I wanted to make sure to give Bill the appreciation that he deserves, and thank you for producing our podcast as well. How about you, Maceo?
Well, my journey is a little different because I started at Albany State. I went into college not knowing what I wanted to do school-wise because I was just worried about football. So I went to Albany State to play football, was there for a year, and I could say that the teachers really cared, so it made me push towards education, but the football thing didn't work out. So I knew I wanted to come back home. I went back home, set out for a year, just didn't do anything. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go to Georgia State. And while I was sitting out for the year, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me, honestly. So I took that year off and I figured out what I actually want to do, because without football, I was lost, honestly. So I was like, journalism. I would love to talk about football, even though I'm not in it. So I came to GSU, and I've been online until now, literally. I've been online, taking online courses. I've never been to the campus. Only time I was at the campus if, for some reason, financial aid wouldn't work, but that's about it. So I came here, and during my journey of online trying to finish these classes, I ran into the practicum. And it scared me because I work. So I'm like, how am I going to go to a practicum that started at 3:30 and I get up at 4 o'clock every day? I didn't know what I was going to do. But I was like, I need the class. I want to graduate, so I'm going to take it. And, thank God I did. And I think, everything happened for a reason. So having a professor like you, I don't think it could have worked out more perfectly. You know what I'm saying? Just as Duncan said, teachers that care. I'm a big people's person, so running to you and you being so honest from the beginning, which was bold to me. I've never seen a teacher be that honest from the beginning. It really pushed me to want to be in this class, and it reminded me of being on the field. So
I want to pick up on what you just talked about, how, I want to go back to the first day, basically, with both of you. The first day of our practicum, when everybody had to introduce themselves. And I remember, Maceo, you came to me and you did tell me that you worked. And you worked very, very hard, I have to say. Like Duncan recognized, to be up at 4 a.m. for a job. Then you have to come to class. Then you have to submit, all the assignments. And not only did you submit your assignments and you did the required, homework and tests and final projects, I think more students than we know work. And sometimes they work more than one job or work in the conditions that you work in. 4 a.m. at a warehouse. The job has nothing to do with your career, with your interests, with your passion, and yet you do it, right? Tell me a little bit about that. Why do you work? What do you do for work? And when do you plan on not working?
So I work at a warehouse called ABW that's located all the way basically in Mapleton. So for me, the job is basically, I do inventory, so I count all day and make sure things is where they're supposed to be for the most part. And like you said, it has nothing to do with my career, but it gets the bills paid. So, you got to do what you got to do to get the bills paid. So for me, that's my mindset. Get up, do what you have to do to get where you got to go. I don't really think of it as more than that or anything more complicated than that. I can't say I enjoy it. I could definitely not say that, but I enjoy the people I meet, people I talk to there, and just, being able to work and be able to come here. You just got to be appreciative of the small things, honestly.
And I think this is something that defines you, Duncan, as well. You also worked on so many projects. You were willing to help out in the area that you're, most comfortable with, which is editing, video editing. Thanks to Bill Chapman and his class. Tell me about your involvement with the projects, because it takes a special kind of person. I mean, just what Maceo is saying, I mean, it takes a special kind of person to connect with others and say, hey, you could have not done that. You didn't have to. You could have done your project, finished with it, but you reached out and you said, I'm available and I'm going to work hard and it's going to be a lot of pressure on me, but hey, I want to do it. Tell me where the motivation comes from.
Well, part of it was because the original project I pitched fell through. The woman I was contacting for the event I was going to cover just kind of ghosted me, and then apparently she was out of town. So so there's a little bit of desperation, and I just feel lucky that I have the editing skills, because that was something that was in high demand in this class. And the projects I've worked on have really enabled me to get to know my classmates better too. So working on the Jackie profile, obviously I learned a lot about her, and then I learned a lot about Maceo and Raymond and everyone else on that project from just working together. And then I'm getting to learn about everyone else in the class too through the GSUTV project, the video about this class. And really why I like editing is it's really satisfying to put something together from start to finish and see how it all comes together and really nitpick. I'm not normally a super precise person, but with editing, that does kind of bring it out of me of, trying to get every little detail right. And I definitely feel like I need something like that in my life just for personal satisfaction, and then, helps that it's going to help with my grade for this class.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And we must say you also did camera work.
Yeah.
You didn't just do editing, you did camera work.
Yeah.
You worked with the script a little bit or a lot at different parts of the projects, right?
Yeah.
And you did too, Maceo. I want you to tell me about the camera work. What did you learn in this class? How did you feel? Tell me about that experience. What was that like?
Well, first I want to harken back a little bit and go off of what Duncan was saying, and just the class in general. So first let's just start with the first day. I come into class and I fill it out, and I'm like, wow, this is a variety of people. I don't think we had one person that was like the next. Like, everybody was a personality. Everybody was different. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be.
And that includes the professor.
Most definitely, most definitely. So once we did the little icebreakers and hearing people talk and their ideas, their background. First thing I thought coming in here was, I know nothing. That's my first thought. I'm hearing everybody say, like, what class have you did, and what have you done? And everybody like, I did this, I've been here, and I'm like, I ain't do none of that. Like, I'm like, the basis I know, which is probably not the best thing to say right now. I was like, the basis I know is lighting and angles. Like, I don't know nothing about anything. So you introducing the camera was the scariest thing in the world. You trying to give me $1,000 equipment. In my head, I'm thinking about, do I have insurance? Like, I'm trying to figure out the best way to not touch that camera so I don't break nothing. But you pushing us to touch the camera and work with it enabled me to be comfortable with it to the point where I wanted to learn it. I wanted to achieve it to the point where you have somebody like a Duncan that sitting here like, nah, man, just stand it up. I'm like, just do who? Just stand it up. Me? You know how much that costs? I don't know about that one. But it did enable me to figure it out, to learn it, to work with different people that talk to different things, to see how people work and how to communicate. Overall, the program in general was a great experience. The way it was set up and it was pushed was a great experience, and it pushed you to really figure it out. It pushed you to feel like a real work environment. So I loved it, I'm not gonna lie.
To touch on something Maceo said about knowing about lighting and angles, is like most people were really in that boat, and I think that we had sort of a mesh of knowledge, or a puzzle of knowledge that we could all put together and work with. And I think you could almost sort of tell which classes people had taken before this one, based off of what roles they went for. But I think that in general, the way these projects kind of played out is that people were finding themselves doing unexpected jobs. I didn't think I'd be doing any script work. I was like, I feel strong behind the camera and editing, and now I've been working on this script for like 2 weeks now, revising and everything. So I mean, really, it's just a testament from my end of the professors I had. I learned a lot from Steve Hayes's digital journalism class, which is a prereq of this class, and then I was able to refine it. But putting it all together, that's what this class is about. That's why this is, as far as I know, this is the only 4,000 level class that you have to take. You don't have a choice of taking any sort of alternate.
That's right.
And it's good because you need to be able to get the experience working with a team and doing different jobs and sort of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And I mean, those are the things I've gotten out of this class the most, aside from just the technical skills. It's just being more willing to try everything.
And I do think that is, at least, again, going back to the intention, what the intention was. What I wanted you to learn from this is, and I'll say it with pride, that I trust every one of you guys in this class to go out now, with a crew and know what they're doing. If you are just joining us, my guests are Maceo Price and Duncan Rolinson, and this is the GSUTV Podcast. Let's start with the beginning. You pitched a story. Yours was not approved. Yours was approved. Yours didn't happen. You had to go to another one. You pushed.
So with mine, coming into it, and it's the funniest part is I'm looking at the computer and it's like, pitch a story, and I'm like, yo, I need an example, like, because in my head, like, stories that I would want to do have to do with feelings and how people feel, and just, I'm a big person on like trying to sway thoughts, sway feelings. So all three of my stories had to deal with two things: feelings and sports. That's all I knew. I was like, feelings and sports, but I think where I went wrong was they was way too broad. I wasn't gonna get no.
Tell us, do you remember what it is? Because I
most
remember
definitely. I wanted to do. It was a story basically about the feeling of the upcoming season of the Atlanta Falcons, and it was going to capture how people feel, the energy around the city, and how they would perceive like what the Falcons would basically do this season.
And you wanted to shoot it where?
I want to shoot it in front of the dome or in it. And she was like, no. She was like, nah, can't happen. Me? See, and this goes.
And you were so hurt.
Because this goes to who I am too. I'm a big self-thinker. I literally have to know, like, or understand why to like be okay with it. And I promise you, not just you, everybody has a problem with that. So she's saying no, I'm saying why. Yeah, you gotta tell me why. And it's funny, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I went home that day and I was driving. I was so angry. I was like, why doesn't it make sense? Like, this is a great story I did. It's gonna have feelings, emotions. It's gonna draw people in. Like, how doesn't it make sense? And I'm an overthinker, so I sit there, and by the next day I said, it probably don't make sense. Like, it probably doesn't, because everything she was saying is right. I'm gonna get in the dome. Who am I gonna capture? The idea, the branding. None of it made sense. So
the noise, the crowds.
None of it.
You weren't even thinking about the crew. You weren't even thinking about your team. How are you gonna get your camera there, the mic, who you're gonna interview? So it's good that you then, instead of giving up, because I was saying, give up. Join another group. You pushed back.
And that just has to do with me. I wanted to capture it was a couple things. One was nobody was doing sports. Everybody was like newsy or eventy. I'm like I'm a sports guy. I can join these groups, but that's not what I'm passionate about. So as much as I will join them and want to learn, I'm not gonna have my all into it because I care about sports more than anything. So I pushed, and the story I pushed captured, I think, just as much, whether it was emotion or understanding as my original, which is, the coaching profile on Sean Elliott, the head coach at GSU football. So.
And what you did, which was brilliant, instead of pitching the story, you secured the interview first. You reached out to them and they said yes, they'll give you the interview. So when you pitched it, it was a done deal. You had the interview. It's not like if you had pitched it and said, okay, go try to get the interview, I'll be thinking, well, he's not going to get it, right? No, you did the work and that worked, right?
Right.
And you ended up with a story that is doable, it's manageable, although it took you, again, the whole semester to finish it. Yes, you're working on other stories, but that's how long it took to put the piece together.
Especially, dealing with a third party. Like, I had to deal with a third party. I had to deal with me talking to basically a assistant of some sort to put everything together, whether it was talking to him, going there, visiting, getting understanding of where we will be at and things of that nature. I never got to talk to the subject, which was scary to me because I'm like, what if he's is the most bland person we ever met in our life? And thankfully he wasn't.
He was an amazing personality for your piece.
Most definitely. He's somebody that I think
and he was so warm and welcoming as well to all of us.
I think people want to follow him. I think that seeing how he works, seeing his drive and motivation through the story, I think people will be like, wow, that's somebody that I want to invest in. That's somebody that I want to go to those games or things of that nature. So I'm thankful for sure.
Yes. Duncan, your first story was an amazing story. Your pitch, right? What was it? It was a
Latino art festival.
But before that, you had a story. Remember the neighborhood?
Yes. There's a restaurant in Grant Park called Dakota Blue, and they just had their 20th anniversary. And they're not a chain or anything, so 20 years as sort of like a little local joint is, not common. And among other things, it's an impressive run.
And that got approved right away.
That got
Great
approved
story,
right away.
Local. It has the human interest.
Yeah.
It has your pitch was right on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they changed their mind, right?
Well, they basically, it's how it goes with restaurant workers a lot of the time, and this isn't a slight on them at all, because I definitely get it. Sometimes things just get to the point where you don't have time for a college student to come in and interview and take up a bunch of space in your restaurant shooting things, or you don't even have time to think about that. And I actually did. I was able to use them for a story I did for my feature writing class recently. But yeah, it was, the timing just didn't work out for them. Right.
It's print. You don't need to bring a camera or microphone or.
So the timing just didn't work out for them. No hard feelings that way, because I get it. But it definitely made me panic a little bit, because I felt so good about the idea, and I was like, this is going to be perfect. I'm going to cruise to an A in this class off of this idea. That's how it goes. It's a good lesson in reality. Things fall apart all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just, move on.
Yeah.
Right. So you moved on to another story.
Yes.
Now tell me about the Latin.
So that was the Latino Art Festival. Mm-hmm. It was going to be in Decatur. And I was in contact with a woman who was in charge of the organization putting it on. And she basically went on vacation and didn't get back to me until after it had happened. And it was like, okay, so I can't go back in time and shoot this and interview people. And I didn't have the clearance to get the camera or anything in there. So, again, it fell apart. Now I was really panicking. And thankfully, I was able to jump on the Jackie profile. And I was able to jump on the Girls Who Code hackathon with Alex. And I was able to jump on the GSUTV project with Ivan once again, largely because I know how to edit things. I don't know if I would have gotten in some of those projects without that skill.
Looking back at it all, what would you have done differently? Drop the class.
I would have definitely. I actually dropped the ball on the first day. Me and Maceo, we spoke, and I got his number, and then I kind of thought, oh, I actually don't need to be on. I don't need to. I thought I had gotten enough, connections or whatever to be on people's teams, and so I would have definitely made sure that I texted Maceo, both to be polite and also like working with him and seeing his work ethic and I mean, you know, he's just good person to be around. I would have definitely made sure to get on a project with him. I think that was probably the biggest thing is I was kind of socially anxious at that point, so I didn't want to try and make those connections with people at the start of the class. And I wish I would have, because getting to know everyone in this class, I mean, you know, everyone has a lot of interesting skills, and also, you know, it's just a good group of people to be around.
Would you say this is something you would do in the future in other classes, or do you think this was specific to this type of class and these type of projects?
Any college student can tell you it's good to have at least one person's phone number in every class, just so you can, you know, if you miss a day or whatever. But I don't know, I've come out of my shell a bit, and yeah, just for my own mental health sake, really, just make more connections with people, because like I said earlier, I've really discovered that's something I feed off of and I love to do.
For me, I'm gonna piggyback off of a lot of things he said. Starting with, I didn't know he remembered us talking the first day, and it's so interesting because like I appreciated him, like even with you denying it, he was like, "So what is the idea though?" Like I appreciated that. I'm sitting here trying to explain to him a bad idea, but he listening too. Oh, for real? Like he listening, but I definitely appreciated that. For me, I don't think I would have changed much. The biggest thing I would have changed was like going into projects and being more prepared. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't change nothing about the class more than being prepared about taking Mr. Chapman's class before I took this class, so I actually know something coming into this class. And it's crazy with you and Mr. Chapman. I learned so much. I don't learn the basics of Adobe just from Mr. Chapman showing me. I don't learn camera work and understanding cameras from you. I've learned so much in this class. Like the only thing I probably had going for me was I was a good interviewer. That's about it. That's all I had going for myself. So when it comes to this class and the things I learned,
and knowing sports, you knew that that's your area.
That's my strength. Yeah, I knew that was my strength.
You can talk to anyone about sports at any time.
Yeah,
you were confident with that, so
right.
You knew your story had to be about sports.
Yeah, I just knew I'm good with sports.
Football,
now I can expand thought. I could talk about something and just keep it pushing every time. But that was the biggest two things. I don't regret much from this class. I'm thankful for everything I even went through in this class and working with different teams and making them connections. Like I wasn't too anxious because in my mind I knew that I couldn't do nothing, so I better talk to somebody. That was my thought process. So, but coming into it, it's just I've learned to detail scripts from Mr. Chapman. I've learned so much, and I think that was the biggest thing like that I liked about this class and was excited about was I haven't learned like this in forever. Especially being an online student for the most part. When you're not in class and it feels like a business. Like these are business decisions turning grades online. When you're in class and you're learning, like I've never learned like this. So
this class especially is more hands-on than like any other class I've taken. I think the digital journalism class came pretty close, but we were doing it all by ourselves and the sort of quality control wasn't as big. Like we're really getting into details of every aspect of it in this class too. So I would like to add, I wish I just sort of trusted the premise of the class going into it. Just like, I wish I could go back and tell myself, like, man, you're going to get so much out of this class. Like, just go in and embrace everything you can. And that's definitely advice I'd give to anyone who's going to take this class. Like, embrace everything that comes to you in this class because you will learn so much. And the more you embrace, the more you're going to learn and the better off you're going to be for your future.
Yeah, I feel like that's exactly what I did for the most part. With being on 4 projects, like you said, I didn't have to be on 4 projects, but I knew I wanted to learn. I knew I ain't learned like this in a long time. I knew that I probably ain't gonna get this type of learning again. So dive into every project to, try to learn. Whether you know it or not, I'm not a people's person, like at all.
You'll never be able to tell.
You would never know, but
right?
Yeah.
I'm a very closed person, very like close-knit group. So like being able to talk to these people and get to meet different personalities like Raymond, getting to meet Duncan, having my professor be somebody I can literally relate to. I'm grateful. Having people like Jackie, who I'm thinking I'm the only person that is in this class working and doing all that, and hearing Jackie's story, like come on, she's still doing it. What am I complaining about?
You thought you had problems.
Literally, I'm like, what can I complain about?
Yeah.
Look how hard she works.
She's doing all that with a kid.
Literally.
Did you feel safe to make mistakes, to try things out, to give it a go? And two, when did you feel a switch in the class from this is a class, I'm here for the grade, I'm here to pass it because it's a required class, to, you know what, I'm not going to fail this class. Actually, I'm going to do well in this class. Let me see how I can make the most out of the experience. First of all, did this happen? Tell me the turning point, and also tell me if you felt safe.
Yeah.
And you can talk to each other. You don't have to just answer me, but I think it's important to kind of compare notes in this.
I'm guessing. I think we both felt the safest when we was doing the Jackie project together.
Yeah.
Like at that point, I don't know for him, but for me, I done been through a couple projects. So I felt that safety.
Because of the team? Because you felt we're a team, we're in this together?
Well, the team, the people I'm working with, like I'm doing B-roll camera. He knows everything in the world about a camera. I don't have to, like, I had minimum error, plus I have so many people. You got Raymond being a great leader. You got Jackie being a great person to interview in general. You got Kayla just helping out. Then you got Duncan on the camera. I was like, as long as Duncan on the camera, I mean, it's not too much that can go wrong at that point.
How about you, Duncan?
Yeah, I definitely felt safe to make mistakes. I think part of it was having, because you came on so many shoots with us, it felt like, okay, if we have an issue, we've got someone who's more knowledgeable than us to work on it. And also, just the fact that it's a class, like, no one wants to mess up, but I didn't feel like, I felt like everyone was kind of going through the same thing and everyone was learning together. So I felt definitely safe to make mistakes and
be creative, right?
Yeah.
Like, try different things.
Yeah.
Let me try this angle. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like, what's the worst that can happen? We don't use the shot.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, the switch probably was after the first shooting. Like you coming with us on the first shooting. After the shooting and seeing how your response was to when messing up, and that it wasn't a response of anger or frustration. It was a response of learning. All right, what did you learn? What did you gain? What can you use? That made me relax. Like, okay, so we're here to learn seriously. Like, everything sounds good when you talk about it, but when you get into it, it gets a little different. So once I could see that we're literally here to learn, to get better, to push us to do better, I was like, okay, I can calm down. Like, so.
Everything came back to learning always. Nothing was just about being mad at someone for messing up. It was always like, we're going to help you fix this, whether it was other students or you as the professor. It definitely fostered a safe environment, and it really reinforced we are here to learn and we're going to.
Awesome. I want to tell you something that might surprise you, but you know that story that Maceo pitched on day one that I did not approve? I would approve it today if I had you today as the students. So I don't know if you appreciate what I'm saying.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Right? That it's not that the story idea was bad in any way. It's not that. It was not doable. You were not ready. You were thinking so big and so wide that you'd need a professional crew actually to put this together and to deal with this kind of environment that you wanted to shoot at, which is at the stadium.
Right.
And talk about the Falcons and talk to people in Atlanta, not keep it on campus, for example, or keep it focused on campus. But the question is, do you trust yourselves to do that story today?
With learning so much, in certain instances, I may trust myself.
Yes, the question, I have another question, like follow up. Do you trust yourself to do the story, and what role would you play in this story?
I think we would. I think we'd be able to do that story really well. I think that we would go out there and we'd get a lot of like footage, and we'd talk to a lot of people. And I think we'd have the confidence to know how to do those interviews with people. And then once we got in and we logged it and we started writing a script, I think that we would know exactly what like we would go through it all and we'd figure out what the best thing to focus on is, and then we'd narrow it down afterward. That's something I've been experiencing a lot actually in my last year or so at school, is like sometimes you don't know exactly what the story is going to be about, but you know what to look for. And yeah, I think we would find some really interesting people out there, and
I think we would too, especially like with us two being who we are, you know what I'm saying, and the combination of, like, I think other than Jackie, like Duncan, like the comfortability of, you know, being honest with each other, whether that was from, at least for me, not knowing things. I'm texting and calling Duncan like, hey, hey, you know how to move a PowerPoint to this or move a script over here? And he's like, hey, you know, just try like this. You know what I'm saying? And things of that nature. So I would be comfortable because of the team I have, honestly. Like,
So give me the team. Tell me. So we're doing the story, right? What is your role? The story is what? Again, we're talking about the Falcons.
the upcoming season for the Falcons.
The upcoming season for the Falcons in Atlanta. That's our slug. So Falcons, okay. The new season, Falcons new season, right? What's your role in it?
You're the anchor for one.
You
You're
think
definitely
so?
going to be the
I
anchor.
would say you're the reporter, right? You want to be a journalism reporter,
Most
right?
definitely.
Most definitely. So you're that.
I'd be manning the camera for you.
So
Okay.
Duncan handling camera, okay.
We got our leader,
Who-
Raymond.
Raymond doing what?
Yeah, if we get Raymond as the producer,
He's
it's
a
gonna go
producer,
really
yeah.
well.
Oh, we
Exactly.
like
He's
Raymond as a
definitely
producer.
gonna push.
He tells people what to do. He keeps them in line.
I
Okay.
definitely need Jackie on my team.
You want Jackie doing what?
She can do whatever she want to do. Hey, her drive and dedication, she gonna figure it out. So
Just have Jackie on the team. She can be the supervising producer.
yeah,
How about that? So we have a senior producer, that's Raymond. We have a supervising producer. We need people to do the actual work, right? Not just
Yeah.
to boss people around. You're the
Yeah.
camera, you're the reporter. What else do we need?
I figure we'd probably all work on the script, right? Like
Right.
Everyone who comes on the shoots, and we'd have people we spoke to or things. That
I
stuck
don't
out.
want to see. I want to mention somebody, but I don't want to mess her name up.
Oh, I know, because we had that, right? Like, yes.
It's not. It's
Let's not go there.
okay. I don't want to mess her name up.
So
but,
we don't say the name wrong.
Right. Okay. Great.
So, but we do need, a
It's
writer.
Most definitely.
We need to find a writer, or maybe a collective of writers.
I really loved how Kyla like the role she asserted herself in. Just being understanding of I wouldn't say she had the most specific role, but she didn't mind doing anything.
Yeah.
Whatever we needed, she was like fill in, whether it was writing, script, she basically helped on everything.
That's
She did
like
some-
me usually on teams. Like, what do we need?
Yeah.
Let's fill in.
And I really appreciated that. Like she
Mhm.
didn't feel like she had to boast her voice and give her opinion, but she knew when to like put it in and pitch in.
She did some really tedious, boring work that
The
would
logging.
have gotten done, but like who wanted to?
Right.
And
the logging.
yeah,
or-
the logging and
Script writing,
the tracking.
Oh, she did the tracking.
Or she did something, whatever she was doing, recording with her phone, so we would like have all the audio.
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
It's just
the
things of that.
transcript.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just things like that. Like she didn't mind doing.
Yeah.
She sat there and she did
So
it.
we need people like this on the team.
Most
Yeah.
Right? People
definitely.
who can just basically
Team
help
players.
out. Who's editing?
I'll edit.
I think I kind of like the editing process a little bit now, but I help Duncan for sure.
Yeah, we could edit that together. That would be fun.
All right. Well, that sounds good, right?
Yeah.
It's good to feel that, we can do the story now that we have the know-how, the experience, and all that. And hopefully there will be many, many, many stories in your future at reputable media organizations. I hope that your dreams will come true. Speaking of dreams, what are your dreams? Where do you want to be in, let's say, 10 years from now?
It's less specific of what I'm doing and more just like my state of mind, And I think a lot of that, of being in like a happy, sort of satisfied, fulfilled place mentally would come from doing work that, I enjoy, which is going to be something with people, journalism related with people. So maybe writing features or maybe even just editing in some newsroom, and working with people who are good to work with. And I guess to be really specific, I think it would be really, really cool to be an editor on like documentaries. I think that I would learn a lot, sort of like I have in this class. I'd really learn a lot through those editing processes about whatever the documentaries are about. And also, you know, even on like the scale of like a 4 to 5 minute video, like for this class, putting something together that's like an hour or more long, I've only gotten to do that one time, and it was so fun. And I was nowhere near the editor I am today either, but I was very proud of what I did. And yeah, so I think an editor somewhere doing work that feels at least, you know, important enough with people that I enjoy working with, just in a good state of mind. That's really what I'm wanting.
I mean, my answer is not going to be nowhere as good as his. Like, that was amazing. And even though I agree with a lot of that sentiment, especially of being happy and being in a good place and things of that nature, I want to see like the work pay off. I'm a big work payoff person. The job isn't finished until you're finished. So I would, to be very specific, I would love to be either on ESPN or a network of that nature, like a Fox, and being a host on there talking about sports. But more than just that, kind of giving my people a different light and aspect of what you can achieve and where you can go. And whether that's through me being there, through my words and the things I say, spreading the knowledge of, especially how the state is in today. That you don't have to be an ex-NFL player to know so much about the sport and be so indulged in it, that you can get here by just persevering and being who you are. So.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Duncan Rolinson and Maceo Price, students in the Journalism Practicum of the fall of 2023. This has been a special episode of the GSUTV Podcast. I'm Octavia Nasr. Producing this podcast is Professor Bill Chapman.